For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. Society has given us an appetite for destruction, for self-destruction. Everywhere we go, we're confronted with temptation, fornication, self-gratification, pleasuring ourselves. We want to accumulate as much as we can. At least that's the mindset of many people out there. As Christians, we struggle in the secular world. Again, there's temptation everywhere we go, and it just drives us to make a decision. What are we going to do? And essentially that's the focus of our attention in this broadcast. What are we going to choose? What are we going to do? Many of us know what we should do. The question is, will we do it? We think that our mistakes and that our choices have little effect on the world around us, but in fact they have a huge effect in the spiritual war that we find ourselves in. And obviously, the situation is intense. You can feel the electricity in the air. In many countries, there are civil wars brewing. And internationally, we see the storm clouds of World War III on the horizon, the mushroom clouds. Given how bad the situation is outside, I don't think anyone would be surprised if there was an alien invasion at this stage. In any case, the situation is intense. And everything that's happening in this world is essentially a reflection of the spiritual world. And there's a war going on. Good versus evil. And as Christians, we're the major players on this chessboard. And if we're just running around causing spiritual pollution through our sins, then essentially we're aiding and abetting the enemy. And that's why it's important to understand what is really good and evil, right and wrong, and to go the extra mile wherever we can, whenever we can, to make a difference out there. You'd be surprised how much of a difference doing the right thing does in this metaphysical world against evil. Many people right now want to find ways to participate, but they may not be able to drive to a protest location. They might not be able to be on the front lines. After all, war is a young man's occupation. But it's not only a war against this New World Order, the Illuminati and the beast system. It's a war against spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. And that's why it's important to look at what's going on, not only in terms of the physical world, but the metaphysical world as well. And so that's why we invite each and every one of you to spend a little time in the Bible every day, because faith comes from the spoken word, and by listening to what Jesus has to say and what Moses has to say on doing good is going to have a huge impact on the world around you. And it'll have a huge impact in this war against evil. We see the evil symbolism everywhere. We see the evil activities of the dark side. This whole pandemic was a giant blood sacrifice. And essentially they're trying to pump up their dark demonic forces through human activity, human misery and suffering. And so it's important to understand how we can neutralize all of that in many different ways. The Bible tells us, suffer not a witch to live, because they spread this corruption in the physical world, which pumps up the demonic forces that essentially attack us in this world, creating a negative feedback loop of dark energy, a black hole, if you will. We were all staring into the abyss at the peak of this pandemic. Is the world going to end? Is it over? And for many people, it was over. So understanding the physics of the spiritual war will change the dynamics immensely. And that's why it's really important to get back to the basics. Saying your prayers every day, perhaps even 3 times a day. First thing when you wake up, say your prayers, and throughout the day with sincerity and truth. And for many people, thanks to the indoctrination, the devolution, they never see past that first wall of doubt, that first mountain range. And so it's important to understand that even the simplest form of life requires megabytes of information. The law of information tells us we cannot get all of that information without intelligence. The simplest form of life requires DNA, which is information to produce proteins to maintain its survival and to reproduce. Without this complex programming language, there would be no life on planet Earth. And so, say your prayers with truth and sincerity, and essentially do your best to avoid unethical behavior. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. Unless you really have to, unless you're saving a life. In wartime, of course, things are a little different. But even though it is a war, we should try our best to be outstanding people. And every little thing matters. And it's not easy. Again, the world is full of temptation. You see these people on television, you want to hate them. It's easy to hate them. And it's right to hate evil. But don't give these people free rent in your head all day long. Don't let them dominate your way of thinking. It can't all be about the hatred of evil. And so we should do our best to be the best people that we can, given the circumstances, and manifesting everything that we can from the Bible into the real world, whether it be evangelizing or healing people, speaking to them about things that really matter, instead of just goofing off and talking about things that don't matter. And of course, we should also do our best not to defile ourselves in wicked or contemporary ways. And many of us are probably living lives like a devil, hoping to be saved. And so we really need to do our best to not defile ourselves, avoid the casual encounters with the opposite sex, as much as we feel like we need that type of affection. Essentially, we're defiling ourselves, turning the other person into a type of prostitute. And we should really be searching for marriage and stability versus the bachelor life. That might be easier said than done these days, especially with all of the vaccinated people out there. Finding the person that you match up with is more difficult than ever. But essentially resorting to self-destructive behavior, or even really searching for it, draws you into a dark place that nobody in their right mind wants to go. But essentially, if your mind's in the gutter, then essentially you're polluting the spiritual world around you. And as Christians, we have a responsibility to be the cleanup crew and not part of the problem. And so again, we have to realize that in order to participate in this spiritual war, we have to deny ourselves and put our boots on and do what's necessary to carry our cross through this battlefield of temptation. And so, being able to discipline your thoughts, your words, your actions into something that is respectable is a lot of work. But doing so will allow you to resist until that very last day of your destiny. And it'll have a huge impact on the metaphysical world around you. And there's really nothing more powerful than quoting the words that are in the Bible. When Jesus was confronted by the devil, Jesus responded, "It is written." He spoke out the written word, manifested what was in the Bible into the real world. And while all you're doing is quoting the Bible in the spiritual world, it's like setting off a nuke right there in the heart of darkness. That's what it's really like in the spiritual war. And so this world is doing everything it can so that you're not quoting the Bible out loud where people can hear it, but doing it in a way that isn't driving people away either. We've all seen the street preachers out there, at least we used to, pointing at you. You're going to hell. You're all going to hell. And while there's definitely a need for that, it might not be the very best way to reach out to people and to change their hearts and minds in a way that's really productive. But this is a spiritual war, and all of you have the potential to drop mega bombs on the enemy in their dark homeworld. And so, quoting the Bible wherever you can, to as many people as you can, is an excellent way to do that. And it just dawned on me recently why Route 66 is traveling through the desert, Death Valley and the like. Jesus tells us in the book of Matthew, when the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. That means that most of the unclean spirits of the world, if they had a choice as far as where they can hang out, they're going to the desert, where it's hot and dry, hell-like even. Then you think about south by southwest, going down. South on the map is down. West on the map is left, liberal. Southwest, perhaps the most evil places you can go. But in the world of today, just about everywhere you go, you're met with confrontation and temptation. And this is the spiritual world manifesting in the physical, trying to attack you. But you can attack back by doing everything you can to not defile yourself. Fornication, again, is essentially the original sin of some of the angels, and they were debased. They left their first estate and defiled themselves with women, with fornication. And so it's a huge deal to be thinking below the waist. You really want to keep your thoughts above the shoulders if you can. But all the little things that we tend to do essentially has a side effect. And so either we can try and balance that, or at the very least counteract that. But once you get far enough in your journey, you'll want to start dropping bombs on these evildoers. And so everything you can do in a positive way will have huge ramifications in the spiritual world. And so spread love and kindness wherever you can, but understand that it is a war, and we have a tendency of being naive when it comes to the nature of the battlefield. We tend to want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But unfortunately, in this world that we live in, you really can't trust any situation. There's always, just about always, a hidden catch. But doing good is its own reward. If you're focusing on doing the right thing for the right reasons, things will just work out around you. But if you give in to fear or doubt or anger and the like, then essentially it'll take advantage of you. The devil is always looking for your weakest moments to attack. It's not going to attack you when you're really at your full strength. It'll attack you when you're desperate. It'll attack you when you're sleeping. And so it's important to do everything that you can to not put yourself in a desperate situation, and to arrange your life in a way that isn't self-destructive. And of course, that's much easier said than done these days, especially now. But that's all the more reason to push back, especially on this front. Push back against self-destructive behavior. Biblically speaking, of course. We'll leave it there for this broadcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Until the next time, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.